Hey guys, welcome back to Naveen Codes. Welcome to the seventh session of our Spring MVC tutorial series. In the previous video, we talked about the controller, how to like do the request mapping, etc. And we also like created a login sign up form, right? So we created a login sign up form and we tried to capture the data, whatever the user ID and the password which was like entered by the user. We try to display that user ID and password in the console using sysout, right? So I told that we have to use model attribute in order to like capture the data from the front end and uh, put it at on just like bind the data into the model class using model attribute, and we have to like display the data from the model class. That is what the process I said in the previous video. Let's like get back into the theory. In Spring MVC, we usually use three annotations, okay, called the request param, path variable, and the model attribute. These three annotations we use to capture the data from the front end uh, and like use it in the backend. Okay, so whenever the user enters some data in the front end, we capture the data in the backend using these three annotations. So what is the difference among these three annotations? So if you look at request param, the request parameter annotation is used to capture query parameters or form parameters from the URL. So whenever you are using an HTML form and the user is like entering data in that HTML form, you use request param to capture the data in the backend. Okay. At the same time, when do you use a path variable? Suppose you are like appending the suppose you are like appending some data to the URL query string. Okay, so at that time you capture that query string using path variable annotation. So many times what happens is that when you do a button click, uh, so you might have to like redirect to a certain page. Okay, so at that time you might like have many pages, but you, based on the button, based on what button the user clicks, you might have to redirect to a particular page. So at that time what you will do is you will like append some query parameters to the URL. Okay, some query strings to the URL. That query string will like have the data as to which page you have to like redirect. So you will like capture that query string using path variable. At that time you will use this path variable annotation. Okay, and model attribute, when you will use this, so model attribute you will use when you are like entering some huge data, and that data you are, if you are like going to like bind the entire data into a model class, then at that time you will use model attribute. Okay, so don't worry about all these attributes. I will like show you in later videos how to like use each of these like annotations. Okay, so now let us like select the correct annotation in our, for our case. Okay, in our case we are just going to like capture the user ID and password entered by the user. So that too the user is going to enter it in the HTML form, right? So we should like go with the request param annotation. That is the most suitable annotation for our case. Okay, so let's go ahead and use request param and capture the data entered by the user and display it in the server console. Okay, so let's start by uh, okay, so here we have the request mapping. So let's start by typing in the request param annotation. So this request param annotation uh, takes the name of the attribute, okay, as a parameter. So let's give the name as user ID. So whatever name you are giving here, let's like finish this. So I'm giving request param. I'm entering the request param annotation. I'm giving the attribute name as a parameter inside this bracket, inside this angle bracket, and I'm going to declare a variable which will like contain the data. Okay, string. Let's like name this variable as user ID. So now we are done for user ID. Let's create another request param for password. string password. Okay, so you are like giving a parameter here, right, as user id. So as I said, this parameter is going to resolve the you how will the how will the request param know which parameter is which is the user id data and which is the password data. So it will like resolve using the parameter which you are like passing inside this bracket. So whatever you are giving in this inside this angle bracket, go to your login.jsp, and here you have to add the name attribute. Okay, the name should be the same as what you have given inside the request parameter. Same for password also. Okay, so now we are done. So we have like given this. Let's print this user id space password. Okay, so now we are done. So return a null, since we have like given the return type string. Just return a null. Let's restart the server and see what happens. Sorry for the alignment. Let's like correct this alignment in the upcoming videos. For now, you don't have to worry about the front end, right? Let's give submit and let's see what happens. Okay, now it has been submitted. Go to the server console. See, we are able to see the user ID and password. Okay, so I hope you understood the steps. So I hope you understood the difference between request param, path variable, and model attribute. So in the upcoming videos, I will show you how to use model attribute and path variable. Okay, so stay tuned. Let me meet you in the next video.